Heidelberg Castle stands among the most romantic places in Europe, the perfect fairy tale ruins perched above a storybook town. A magnificent palace at the height of its glory, it was devastated by wars and misfortune. But this is only part of the tale. It explains how the castle was destroyed, but not why it was left in ruins. This is the story of why Heidelberg Castle was never rebuilt, and how a ruin became more powerful than the castle ever was in its prime. Perched high above the Neckar River, Heidelberg Castle once stood as one of the most admired residences in the Holy Roman Empire, not a single building, but a grand complex of palaces and fortifications shaped over 4 centuries, a masterpiece of Gothic and Renaissance architecture. Most importantly, it was the proud seat of the Prince-Electors of the Palatinate, rulers who helped choose the Holy Roman Emperor himself. At its height, Heidelberg was a symbol of ambition, power, and beauty. But the world around Heidelberg was beginning to change. In the early 17th century, the Holy Roman Empire slid into one of the most devastating conflicts in European history, the 30 Years' War. A war of shifting alliances, mercenary armies, famine and disease. It led to the death of more than a third of the German population. The Palatinate, positioned along major strategic routes, became one of its earliest victims. The castle was attacked and damaged by imperial forces. And yet, when the war finally ended, there was still hope. Some repairs began. Life returned. It seemed Heidelberg Castle might rise again. But the worst was still to come. In the 9 Years' War, French forces under King Louis XIV sought to weaken the German states surrounding France. Heidelberg was targeted deliberately, not just as a military stronghold, but as a symbol of Palatine identity. In 1689, the castle was attacked and burned. In 1693, when efforts began to rebuild, the French returned and destroyed it again, this time with explosives. The castle that once stood for pride and power was now a wreck. And after 2 devastating wars, the question facing its rulers was no longer, how do we restore what was broken? But, does rebuilding still make sense in the world that now exists? By the end of the 17th century, the Palatinate was weakened. Its political influence reduced, its treasury strained, and its priorities shifting. Rebuilding was no longer just a matter of pride. It had also become a question of cost and purpose. The new trend sweeping Europe's elite was for sprawling Baroque palaces, built on flat, open plains. These allowed for symmetrical designs and geometric gardens, the perfect expressions of absolute monarchy. But Heidelberg Castle, with its hilltop layout and war-damaged architecture, simply wasn't worth the enormous cost of a modern Baroque makeover. And so, in 1720, Prince-Elector Charles Philip moved his court and the entire seat of power to the nearby city of Mannheim. Here he could build a brand new palace that was modern, impressive, and ideally suited to the tastes of the time. That single decision sealed the castle's fate. It was no longer the center of political power. It was an obsolete relic. In an incredible twist of events, in 1764, the new elector Karl Theodor was planning to move his court back to Heidelberg. Parts of the castle were partially repaired when, in the summer of 1764, disaster struck. Lightning fell upon the castle, not once, but twice, destroying the newly restored sections. For the elector, this was a sign from heaven, a message that the castle belonged to the past, not the present. He abandoned his plans and left the castle for good. The political heart of the Palatinate now beat in Mannheim, leaving the once mighty Heidelberg Castle to crumble. For decades, the castle lay in ruins. Locals were using it as a quarry, hauling away stone and timber. But then something amazing happened. At the beginning of the 19th century, a new cultural movement began to spread across Europe. This movement, known as Romanticism, sought to revive the beauty and mystery of the Middle Ages. Suddenly, the castle ruins became a powerful symbol of German Romanticism, attracting travelers from all over the world. Poets, artists, and writers, including Mark Twain and Victor Hugo, were all captivated by their picturesque, melancholic charm. They weren't looking for a perfectly restored palace. To them, the ruin was not a failure. It was a powerful symbol of a glorious, lost era. By the late 19th century, nationalism was rising in the new German Empire. Many called for Heidelberg Castle to be fully reconstructed as a monument to the nation. This sparked a heated public debate. On one side, those who wanted to restore the castle to its former glory. On the other, the preservationists, led by the influential German art historian Georg de Hio. In a statement that would become a cornerstone of modern historical preservation, de Hio argued that rebuilding the castle would create a fake. He famously declared that the goal must be preservation, not restoration. He insisted that the castle's true value lay in its authentic, time-worn state. In the end, de Hio's view largely won. A commission of specialists decided against a full or partial rebuilding. Only one section, the Friedrich's Wing, was restored. The rest of the castle was saved exactly as it was, a proud and noble ruin. So why was Heidelberg Castle never fully rebuilt? The wars and the lightning were only the beginning. First, the castle became politically irrelevant. Then, just as it was about to fade away, the Romantic movement fell in love with its ruined state, seeing more meaning in the broken walls than in a pristine palace. And finally, the preservationist movement chose to protect the castle as a ruin, arguing that its authenticity was more valuable than any fantasy reconstruction. Today, Heidelberg Castle is more than a landmark. It is a place where visitors come to look out across the city and feel the past living quietly in the present. History is not only preserved in what we rebuild, sometimes it lives most deeply in what we choose to remember. If you'd like to explore another place where beauty rose from history and imagination, continue your journey to Pina Palace, a masterpiece that emerged from ruins into royalty.